Okay, it says I'm live. Turn on Bluetooth, so there we go, that's better. And make sure it's actually live, because sometimes it's not as accurate as I might like. There we go. Yep, everything's fine. All right. F-bombs are armed and may be dropped. Welcome to 18 November. There is no topic this week because the only thing that I could really talk about, you're not allowed to talk about on YouTube. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. I've been trying to come up with a format, of course, and mostly failing. I have said that I would address get home bag issues and Datislav Act. So I'm just going to get into those, and I'm going to get into something that seems so obvious, yet never gets talked about. Something as ridiculously important as water. Okay, so at least in theory, you should be going through a place that you know intimately. All right, I know how to get from here to Papa Carey's place on foot. I know now 4 routes to get there, but one is like a 2-day drive, and I'm not doing a 2-day drive for that, for anything except a true emergency. But that's not a get home situation. That's a bug out situation. I know how to get from work to here 4 ways, 5, but one of them doesn't count because it involves trespassing, some big time trespassing. But none of them is anything less than an hour. Excuse me, this thing is not sitting well. There we go. Right. Unless I'm driving. And if I have to go on foot, that's not the best place to be. This is actually pretty simple. Get a water bottle. This is a small one. I would, if it was this situation, I would have just huge one. I'm also going through mostly urban area, and all but one of the routes to get home, there's at least 2 gas stations. The really crazy far out one, the one that also involves trespassing, I can get to 4 gas stations, but I have to go a little off the track. Yeah, okay. I could, along the route, get water bottles as long as the gas stations aren't being burned to the ground. I don't want to depend upon luck. So I have just this little one that fits into a little pouch. I had to take the name off because I don't have any kind of agreement with that company. You could make a pouch. That's not hard, and hang it from your belt. All right, so how would you practically use this? Here's a really simple concept. Fill it on Monday, right? When you get to work, set it on your desk. All of your coworkers, as long as it's actually water, will see it and think, oh, he's keeping hydrated, no big deal. Never once realizing maybe there's a little more to it than you thought. You can fill it once a week, or you could fill it every day. That small bottle, probably a good idea to fill it every day. And just keep it full. When you get ready to go home on every day, or at least on Friday. Dump it so the water doesn't get stale over the weekend. You're good to go. And that's actually the biggest issue with a get home bag, is that water supply. Depending on your luck in the middle of an emergency is not a good idea. All right. I'm going to jump into Data Slot Act. And no, I did not do the screenshot like I know I should. Title 5, Penalties, Section 4. Any person who willfully ignores any part of this act upon first offense, any part of this act may, upon first violation, be fined not more than $100, upon second and subsequent violations, $500, upon fourth and subsequent violations, incarcerated not more than 23 months and 28 days, and $1,000 fine. This includes failure to carry as required, carrying as prohibited, and use of terminology to this act by anyone in a professional capacity. Failure to carry at the discretion of a court may be waived upon payment of a $10 fine, not more than 3 times. Right. You cannot felony out. Right. You can't keep refusing to carry, knowing that it's illegal, and or using terminology, knowing that it's illegal just to get out of it. Oh, if I go 5 times and get 5 fines, well, I'm good because now I'm a felon. No. Nice try. No. Use of terms contrary to this act in a professional capacity. There is a certain Voldemort involving the criminal justice system that I can't discuss right now, who has been using the term assault weapon in reference to an AR-15 that was actually used. That would be a violation of terms contrary to this act. No, that's not how it works, Mr. B. But that was mainly directed at the news media. All right. The news media has been saying assault weapon, assault weapon, assault weapon. I don't know what planet they live on, but those are not assault weapons. I know that there's some people that really love that legal definition. Well, the problem with the legal definition is it keeps getting changed every few years. As it stands now, my Caltech, it's a sub 2000, would qualify as an assault weapon because it is a detachable magazine fed, semi-automatic, and it has one feature. Flag on the play. It doesn't qualify yet. It will when Biden's assault weapons ban goes through, because one feature is all that's required. And don't worry about which feature it is. He'll find, and he's got some smart people working for him, he will find a way to put that on the list. Excuse me. Because it did come with a sling attachment point on the stock, it'll probably qualify for sling attachments, even though I modified it with much better attachment points. It came with one. That's what they'll probably go with. That little, basically, toy gun will qualify. Let me make something else very, very clear. Once they get all of the AR-15s and the AK-47s and the M1 carbines, and you'll notice I said M1 carbine, not M2. They'll go after everything else. All right. First, they'll start with detachable magazine fed. Okay. Well, now the market floods with M1 Garands or SKSs or something else with a fixed magazine. Oh, well, I guess we have to go after the fixed magazines as well. Or maybe just all of the self-loaders as well. Probably the self-loaders. That's the reality. That is the plan. And I'm telling you this because I've been there, done that as a thought experiment back around 95. I sat there and figured out what it would take to really ban all the guns, and that was exactly the trajectory I found. Ban the scary ones, which I didn't realize back then were already banned, the M16s, that assault rifles, the automatics. Okay. I didn't realize they were already banned. Fine. My bad. Great, good. Then you ban all of the over 10 round magazines, and then you ban all of the detachable magazines, and then ban all the self-loaders, and then all of the fixed magazines, and then, because you can move that goalpost wherever you want. Squatch says, my AR has a feature. It's frozen? I've never heard that before, ever. I wonder if that's a autocorrect auto failure. But yeah, that's exactly what they'll do, is they'll keep moving those goalposts. That was the reason why the definition of assault weapon is so very, very specifically covered. It's also part of the reason why machine gun has one definition and assault weapon has a very different one. And the two may not ever meet. Assault weapon, detachable magazine fed, burst and or automatic fire compatible. That's it. No reference to caliber, no reference to magazine size, no specifics on what burst and automatic means. And I know that's maybe something I should go back and fix, but it's very, very specific, those two things, versus machine gun, which literally only means continuous feed capable. I know somebody out there is going to say, well, the RPK or RPD is not burst or continuous fire capable because the belts are fixed length. Well, yeah, and they can be very, very quickly changed to be either effectively or literally continuous feed. Now, even the M240, the M60, etc., do have a fixed belt length. At some point, you run out of belt. I want to hit on that RPD. I think it's RPD point. All you have to do is change two of the clips. And yes, I did use clip appropriately this time. So that they're the first and last one, so that they are set up to attach to the next belt. And then or fabricate, if necessary, a new pull tab. It's actually not that hard. I did it in my head in about 5 minutes one day driving home. So now what? Where's your argument? Okay. Flag on the play. Oh, for fuck's sake. Guys, give me a second. Let me see if it works now. I might have to reload this. Key, enter. Okay, good. That's working again. All right. Squatch says, "No, my kid's asking for a Frozen theme AR, like the Disney movie. Yes, I'm not a fan of bling on Freedom Cedars." This brings up an interesting point, and it's unfortunately one that has been brought up before, and I don't expound on it very much. I am really, really not a fan of real guns that look like toys and toy guns that look like real. All right. I very much want to keep the two very, very clearly separated. It's not part of Dataslav, and there's a reason for that. It crosses a whole bunch of lines, because first of all, how do you define looks like a toy? I can't do that. I'm sure somebody out there will mention something either in the stream or in the comments afterwards, but I can't do it. I don't have that kind of flexibility of mind. I do highly discourage it. And Squatch, I'm sorry, I don't think your daughter should have a Frozen theme AR. Having said that, I also will not say no. Ooh. Here's an interesting point. Squatch says the Wolverine 2.2 looks like a ray gun. Now, I have never heard of the Wolverine 2.2, and it's actually a very interesting point because there are others out there that I do know of that look like toys. One in particular that comes to mind is the very, very real guns from the original Total Recall. The ones that Richter and his buddy run around shooting Hauser with. Those look like toy guns. They really do. They're not. They are very, very real. There's only a couple hundred of them in existence, but they are real. Ooh, excuse me. This main point of the terms as defined clause was to prevent the media from lying to you and saying Joe Schmuckatoli went through downtown Los Angeles randomly shooting people with an assault weapon. When the gun was recovered, it was a semi-auto only. It had not been modified in any way. It is actually not an assault weapon. Right. Flag on the play. While the incident is occurring, and this is just me speaking here, I would give a little bit more flexibility for a helicopter journalist flying overhead, watching the shooting, say, yeah, he's got an assault weapon and he's taking shots now. Oh, wait, Bob, get us out of here. Get us out of here. All right. In the heat of the moments, you make the mistake. All right. That's like somebody dropping an F-bomb on live TV. It happens. You need to accept it. It's the afterwards. And to be perfectly blunt, I'm not that enthusiastic about even that little bit of an exemption. You're a reporter. You should know better than to use that kind of language until you know that you're right. But okay. You used it. It was the heat of the moment. You dropped an F-bomb on live TV. 2 hours later, they're still saying it. The anchor is saying it. The anchors basically have no such excuse. A little bit of understanding. Okay, you made the mistake. It happened one time. Shit happens. It's later on when you don't have that excuse to hide behind. Oh, excuse me. That this was intended for. And I very bluntly put this. It's terrorism. The fact that TV reporters, especially, and online reporters will consistently say assault weapon, knowing that it's not true. If you are a professional, if you are getting money, if you are paid to tell the news, and you keep saying assault weapon after 86, 96, 06, 16, 4.5 decades now, you're not confused. You're willfully ignorant, and you're lying. And raise a glass to the Young Turks, because I really, really hate those guys. There's others I hate more, but that's a benchmark. All right. Squatch says, it's the most beautiful firearm ever conceived. It is functional art. Okay. I'm going to try to remember to look that up later. It's also not really too critical right now. And it's clearly not an assault weapon. Papa Carey has a very, very old semi-automatic 22. It is a tube mag fed 22 plinker, so it's very much a fixed mag. Yellow flag. There are detachable tube mag guns out there. They are like a unicorn, practically speaking. I've never actually laid hands on one. I've heard of a few. That's about it. Oh, excuse me. That clause is intended to silence liars, not to silence common people. And there is that little caveat: in a professional capacity. Now, a police officer who's on patrol hears the gunshots and calls in, shots fired, M16 at, 23rd and Broadway. All right. Heat of the moment. I get that. Then he goes into the courtroom and says, yes, it was an M16, when the gun's sitting right there, and the weapons expert has already testified, no, that was a semi-auto only. That's not going to pass muster. And then there's commoners like, I would not qualify. Squatch is technically not a professional here, so he could probably get away with saying, oh, yeah, it was an assault rifle, and he, Carey displays one every time. Squatch, don't do that. You know better, and I know you know better. Also, when it passes, you should understand the difference, the very real difference between machine gun, assault weapon, and none of the above. One of my dream guns is the 612, Cry Precision 612. I don't have the 2500 to get one. But oh my God, I want one so bad. It's also not an assault weapon, even though it's a shotgun. It is detachable magazine fed, and what I read is, if I understood what I read correctly, it's gas operated and revolver. Okay, that's very impressive in and of itself, but more importantly, the it's also not automatic. Semi-auto only. It's not an assault weapon. Hey, look who's back! Totes, we missed you. No, I'm serious, we did. Ow. Ooh, you didn't miss much. You just missed me ranting about get home bags and little section of Datislav, and that's about it. Now, by the way, check out the pinned comment. I'm just saying. Moving on. All right. Where was I? Oh, I keep harping on get home bags and not bug out bags. Why? Carrie, why do you hate bug out bags so badly? All right. The reason that the military can operate with bug out bags, which in a military setting is a small bag with only the things you need if you're ordered to retreat, and you burn everything else, leave it behind, booby trap it, whatever. Right? Versus, full kit. You went into Chosin Reservoir with a full kit, and now we're doing a very, very long reorganizational exercise. I won't use the R word with the Marines. You kiss my ass. If Chesty Puller is willing to risk a courts-martial to avoid surrender, then I am not going to insult his memory by using the R word. I say reorganizational exercise instead, or something else. Right. Why? Because the military is either very, very large groups or vehicle-supported bug outs. Not random people making a run for it. By the way, the most famous photo of a bug out ever was from Afghanistan. It's a CH-47 lined up on the roof of a building. And it looks like a 2015-ish version of the evacuation of Saigon. That's not a bug out. They were not leaving, they were going in. It's easy to make the assumption because of the photos from Vietnam. You'd see people up on the roof of the embassy, which wasn't an embassy, it was actually an apartment building. And you see this other photo from Afghanistan, and you think, oh, they must be running out. No, they were actually running in. I had to get that one out there. Hell, I made that same mistake, people, until I found out the history of that photo. Vehicle supported is very, very important. You're not going to get very far, at least by yourself, on foot or without some sort of vehicle support. It's just not going to happen. Let it go. with the vehicle support, you can make it basically anywhere you want, or at least anywhere on land. And to overemphasize that point, I did a little experiment. It was about 3 weeks ago. I didn't talk about it yet because I screwed the experiment up pretty badly. But I plotted a course from, I think it was Los Angeles to Seattle to Miami to New York, back to Los Angeles, and I still hadn't reached 24 hours continuous driving time according to Google. Holy shit. In 24 hours, if I kept driving and didn't stop for anything, or at least very goddamn much, swap out drivers, whatever it takes, I could literally cover the entire United States twice in about a day. Flag on the play. Red flag on the play. After I had done that part, I realized I had screwed up the experiment very, very badly. I did not calculate that, yes, first of all, you got to stop for fuel. Right. Second of all, you've got to stop for other things. You got to switch out drivers. Everything on Earth that might stop you from continuously going. Oh, yeah, that. So I haven't talked about that yet. I want to go back and redo it correctly. But at least in theory, yeah, you can make it all the way across the United States in about a day. There it is. I remember as I'm wrapping this up, I'm thinking, gee, it took me 3 days to drive from Michigan to Los Angeles. And here I am crossing the United States twice in one day? This doesn't make sense. Something about these numbers is not right. And that's when I stopped and realized my mistake. Oh. There's the problem. Also, I won't drive on meth. Meth is bad. But with vehicle support, you can make it a long, long, long way, even by yourself. And that's the bug out car. Have a vehicle that's ready in 20 minutes or less to make it 100 miles or more. Basically, you are home, right? Maybe you grab some more stuff, dump some stuff. What would I dump from this? Okay, not very damn much. No. I might dump the gloves. Dump anything that you know you aren't going to need this anymore. Right? I have a Zippo lighter kit in here. More than one person has said, no, don't take the Zippo, take a Bic. Yes, they're right, but you got to swap out the Bics on a regular basis. Okay, that's fine. Now you dump the Bic and grab the Zippo. Yeah, I'm kind of... Oh, definitely dump the solar panel plan entirely. Just get rid of it. It's not going to do you any good anymore. The water bottle you might want to hold on to for a couple more days. Just keep it where you can reach it while you're driving. Take your gut home bag, toss it in your car. Guess what? It just became your bug out bag too. And last but not least, once you are somewhere safe and you have reorganized with friendly forces. You dump anything from what had been your get home bag that you know you're not going to need for a 12-hour activity, and you replace it with things you will need for a 12-hour activity. You know what I mean? And then you follow whatever the local sheriff says, because that's when militia laws start to apply. And yes, Squatch, I know you'd never say something that stupid. Of everybody that I can recall seeing in my live streams, actually, Squatch would remember, I think. This was about 2 weeks ago. That new name out of nowhere that was trying to start shit in the chat. It's about the only person I think would. I know even Totes knows the definition of assault weapon that I use, at least. And knowing that he got here late, I know Totes would also be able to say why I use that strange and odd definition. Ooh. Zilton Zillow. Yeah, Squatch was on it. Xenon. No, it wasn't. Well, maybe it was Xenon. I think I recall seeing Xenon since then. Maybe he checked his attitude. I don't know. Zilton Zillow. Zillow rings a bell. See, that's why I depend on my regular viewers so much. They remember things that I will forget. Or Xeron, something like that. Yeah, that sounds about right. And maybe it was Xenon, and that was like, 2 weeks ago, and last week he had a new attitude. I don't know. But yeah, he's right. Something like that. All right. So for the bad news, for those of you that have been willfully ignorant, and nobody in the chat that I know of, well, nobody in the chat, nobody watching that I know of, has been this level of willfully ignorant. We've been at war since 1989. That war was declared, 1979. That war was declared. And it never ended. And it's still going on. For those of you that know my theory about where COVID came from, and I tell you all the real truth here. Was it September or October of 2019? Iran and China had a, quote, joint naval exercise in the Persian Gulf. And I remember thinking, the two of them are having a joint exercise. I knew China and Iran were kind of on friendly terms. It didn't occur to me that it was that friendly. And as I'm reading it, it occurred to me, maybe this joint naval exercise is more a chance for China to take a real close look at what Iran's really doing and what they're really capable of. Because there's nothing like having that friend you can't trust under any circumstances. Right? Now here's the two of them playing nice in the backyard. Yeah, all right, okay. Was China actually spying on Iran under the pretext of a joint naval exercise? I don't know. The answer is probably yeah. This is, I think it was October 2019. And I've been hearing strange stories about a new flu outbreak in China that has somebody worried. And I own it. I ignored these panicked cries. These, what was it? Fear-mongering bullshit. No, I didn't say bullshit. This is me talking at the time. I ignored this fear-mongering, is the word I used at the time. Okay, Totes, I will get to that question in a minute. I was ignoring what I called fear-mongering at the time. There's always a flu outbreak in China. That's where they always start. That's how we know what to prepare for. I did that. That was me. I own it. By December, I realized that maybe it was a little more serious than that. It was in January when it was a real problem, and they're talking about Operation Warp Speed and all these other things. I suddenly had that flash. Hey, didn't they have a joint naval exercise? When was that with Iran? And that's what got the ball rolling in my head to look and see if maybe there was a little bit more to that story. And then I remembered that over the summer, Iran had bombed Saudi Arabia under a pretext of targeting Americans. Now, there's no way. The real purpose was to target Americans. They were targeting Saudi civilians. There, I said it. They were targeting Saudi civilians by pointing these missiles generally at Americans, knowing they couldn't hit the Americans. I think of the 12 or so missiles that were fired, one actually hit a U.S. military base just by coincidence. That's what got the ball really, really rolling. And that's when I started looking at Iran a lot more carefully to see if there was something else to look at. Sure enough, I found it. All right, Totes wants to know, who do you hope runs in 2024? Trump. Will he? I don't know. I know that if I were in his position, I wouldn't. It's too much bullshit, too much abuse, too much insanity. I wouldn't want to go through it a second time. I wouldn't want to put my family through it a second time. It just wouldn't be worth it at that point. After him, I have my eye on a few names. But I'm really not sure. So that's the best answer I can give you, bud. All right. We're at 45 minutes in. Cool. All right. I can't talk about the Voldemort too specifically, but I can talk about the other case, and I did yesterday. Out of Atlanta. The Arbery McMichaels incident. If Coleon Noir says that a shooter is wrong, they're probably wrong. if he goes back and says, you know what, on second thought, I looked at more of the case and he may not be as wrong as I thought, probably not as wrong as you thought. The McMichaels Arbery case, Ahmaud Arbery was seen going into a building that was being remodeled, I think it was. Okay, that happened. There were literally dozens of people that had gone into and out of that building, and nobody had taken anything. Nobody had damaged anything. The most anybody that I know of stole was, ironically enough, Arbery, who stole a couple of glasses of water. Okay, that's not even a misdemeanor. All right. The pure act of trespassing would have been a more serious crime than that. And I have only heard of courts actually enforcing a pure trespassing charge when it's tied to something more serious. And I do mean at least a serious misdemeanor. If it's not a violent crime or a violent misdemeanor or a felony, they're not going to do it. They just won't. Okay. There's a reason for that. It's too petty to be bothered with. And water? If you actually try to take that case to a judge in the United States, you will probably be found in contempt of court for wasting the court's time. That's the truth. And I want to emphasize, Arbery didn't steal any tools. He didn't touch any tools. He did look around. That's it. And it had been at least 2 previous occasions. Okay, so what went wrong? Well, on this particular day, he went in, he looked around, and he left again. That's pretty simple math. Somebody in the neighborhood saw him go in, started calling 911, and started alerting the McMichaels, who are now being told that this guy had broken into the house. Okay. That was not a lie so much as a very, very serious mistake. Very serious mistake, and as it would prove, had very serious consequences. The McMichaels go chase him down. In their mind, they're effecting a citizen's arrest. Okay. And that would be fine. The cops would show up. They would search Arbery. They would say, you don't have any tools on you, so you didn't burgle the place. If anything does happen in the future, we're going to ask you questions that you aren't going to like. Okay. I won't do anything later on either. And everybody would walk away from this thinking that guy's a stupid jackass. And they're probably right all the way around. Happened. That's not what happened, though, is it? The McMichaels grabbed the shotgun. Okay. A black guy going down the street, walking, running, jogging, or whatever, sees 3 white guys jumping out of a truck with a shotgun. I don't care what part of the country you're in. That's bad. That's automatically going to make the black guy think these guys are not here just to talk to me. Hold up. I want to catch up on the chat because I think I know what I'm about to read. Oh, well, that's not quite what I thought I was going to read. Totes says, the McMichaels are guilty in my opinion. Hold on to that thought. And Trump running would be CNN's wet dream. Yeah, it's why we need to pick a stronger candidate. define stronger, but I think I know where he's going with that. All right. So, if I were Amon, I would think my life was in danger. Just 3 white guys jumping out of a truck out of nowhere like that. With the shotgun, raised it. 3 white guys in a truck pull up alongside and say, hey, we need to talk to you. It's already right here. This is normal, or this is okay. This is where they were just pulling up alongside. Jumping out was here. Shotgun is way the hell up here. I can't even fathom what possessed them to think that that was a good idea at any level. If I had been a mod, I would have grabbed it for that shotgun too. No questioner. All right. If I was close enough to try, I absolutely would have. And then it went off. Toad says, McMichaels are guilty in my opinion. Yeah, I agree. Of what is what I think is going to start the fight. And they're not just guilty of being dumbasses at this point. This rises to the level of manslaughter. I compared it last night to driving backwards, even if you are going with the flow of traffic on the freeway. Hey, guys, guess what? That's not legal for a reason. You're going to cause an accident sooner or later. Believe it or not, it is more legal and more safe for a woman to drive on the freeway topless in more ways than one than it is to drive backwards on the freeway, and for the exact same reasons. Just the sheer sight of seeing a woman driving a convertible topless on the freeway. Okay. That's going to distract you for a second, but you'll get back to it, right? You figured out nothing's dangerous here. Seeing a vehicle going backwards on the freeway is going to distract you enough that you will cause an accident. You're panicking to get away from the guy who's going to cause the accident. Second-degree murder, generally speaking, requires that you be doing something that you know is wrong. And I don't believe they knew what they were doing was wrong when they had the very bad idea of doing it. And unfortunately, that's a real fact of the universe. It's not like a drunk driving case. I would make a case for second-degree murder in a drunk driving case. You knew you can't drive drunk. You knew that was illegal. You know why it's illegal. I'm 45 fucking years old, and I've been hearing how dangerous it is to drive drunk since I was 4, 5, around there. I can't give you an exact number. But 40 years at least, I've known don't drive drunk. How hard is it, therefore, for you to understand now that you can't do that? That's not legal for a reason. And do it anyway. It's like arguing, well, I was just going into the store to grab the cash register and run out, and that's when things exploded. I was just trying to get home after drinking all night, and that's when things sort of exploded. To give you an idea, I got harassed by SAC PD one night walking home from the bar. Flag on the play. Not their fault. My employer at the time I was a security guard, and my employer at the time used a uniform The pants of which, I did not know this until like 2 years later, are exactly like California Department of Corrections. Oh, especially in the dark, which it was dark at this point. The cop stops. He wants to talk to me. I don't know what about. Yes, I'm drunk in public, but I'm walking home. And I'm not causing trouble. Well, that's not what he was seeing. What he was seeing was Department of Corrections employees way the hell out here? What the hell? What's going on with this picture? And it took us a couple minutes for me to finally say, I don't need to talk to you. And I just walked away. And I'm sure he's off somewhere thinking, what? Every once in a while. Yeah, there was that one time. It was really weird. There was a Department of Corrections employee that just wouldn't talk to me. He was a total asshole. Maybe a couple of years down the road, he discovered, oh, wow, those security guards wear the exact same pants as Department of Corrections. Gee, I wonder if that no, I wasn't acting drunk, so you may not have gone there. I wonder if that guy I saw down on Capitol Mall all those years ago, wonder if he was one of their employees and not actually Department of Corrections. I should look into this. Unfortunately, perception is a very real part of your reality. The way you saw it as you were standing there in that moment is an important part of the way you're going to react to the situation. It's the old parking space with the number on it. Is it a 6 or is it a 9? Sometimes you can't back up and figure out who's right or who's wrong. Or at least you can't back up fast enough. The situation I was in with the SAC PD harassing me, he could not have backed up fast enough to figure out what was wrong with this picture without asking me specific questions. And that would have meant detaining me, possibly arresting me, and then finding out what's going on. I didn't know what was going on either, so I couldn't have backed up fast enough to say, no. So I work for ABC Security. Oh, what are you doing? I'm going home. I'm drunk. Okay. Have a good day. So yeah, your perception will skew or affect your reality, and sometimes you don't have time to figure it out. Okay, there we go. Toad says, ironic, I can hear that the blower in the background because that's exactly what I need to do. My work's leaf blower is calling me, so you got me for another 10 minutes. Okay, that's cool. That blower in the background is the heat sink on my computer because I really need to get an external hard drive and get some of the old crap out of there. And that is what it is. Okay, we're at 1 hour now. Where was I going? Okay. If you have any opportunity at all, first of all, if you live in Kenosha, and I'm just going to go there. If you live in Kenosha right now, I would really recommend you get a hotel, pull your kids out of school, call in work for the sick to work today, or at least tomorrow, and get a hotel out of town. At least a half an hour drive out of town. I don't mean up in the city the kid came from, the one across state lines. No, I mean past that. At least the far end of town. Really, I wouldn't stop there either. I would absolutely go further still if you go that direction. No matter what happens with this verdict, there's going to be fights again and protests again, and it's going to be the same side that started it this time. With a little bit of bad luck, this time a lot more people are going to say, no, we don't want that shit here a second time, and we will do whatever it takes to make sure that shit doesn't start a second time. That's bad luck happening, because CNN will spin it as some sort of crazy insurrection crap. Another subject I'm not allowed to talk about. Ugh. Okay. It's also an example, ironically enough, of why you should be supporting mandatory carry. Let me put this very bluntly. The two guys that died and the one who survived would be banned for life. First guy would have already been banned. Mental illness. All right? That's not a hard one to cover. He had been released from a custodial psychiatric facility that morning. That's an easy one. Hey, you checked in with 3 guns. Well, they've been handed over to the police department. Have a nice day. The second one has no... actually, he does have a known criminal history. Excuse me. Would it have been enough to ban him? I don't know yet. His history was domestic abuse. All right. There is a reason we did not include domestic abusers as being banned. Oh, felony, yes. Just domestic, no. The third one, though, is a violent political protester. This was not actually his first rodeo. This was like his third or fourth. Second guy to die also may have had a history of violent political protests. Oh, that would have put him exempt. The same kind of mentality that makes you inclined to beat your girlfriend also makes you inclined to do other stupid, violent acts. I'm just saying. So, yeah, the chances of all 3 of them already having been banned from possessing a firearm was pretty close to 100%. But they got him anyway. Or, well, Gage had one. The other 2 were trying to get one illegally. Not even a question of whether or not Baldy, I can't remember his name. You know, he's the one that was caught on video using some language you can't use on YouTube, actually saying the words. I think he was down there trying to die. And he got what he was looking for. In law enforcement, it would have been called officer-assisted suicide. And don't give me some sort of harassment complaint flag. That's a term that's been around since at least the 90s. He got what he was really looking for. And okay, maybe he shouldn't have been released from the psychiatric facility till he was actually ready to be released. But that happened, and that's it. And okay. Excuse me, guys. Now it's going to blow up again. And this time, Antifa is not going there with just rocks. All right. They may leave rocks and bricks in nice little piles around town. Don't give me some shit about that never happened. It's been recorded to have happened. Right? That has happened. It's been documented. But they don't come with rocks and bricks. They come with guns. Yeah, call me crazy. Call me a liar. I don't care. They bragged about it on YouTube. With a drone and everything. What kind of stupid are you to tell the entire world, yes, we're violent political protesters and we have guns and we went to a range and demonstrated that we have guns? I'd love to hear one of them step up and explain it to me. Okay, Totes, I will email you and we'll talk about that. All right. Yes, you know what? If any of you know a member of Antifa, tell them I have an open door. Come on in. I want to talk to you guys. I would really love to know what your major malfunction is. They don't respond, by the way. I'm just saying. Excuse me. Oh. Sorry, guys. I'm still trying to get used to having glasses again after 4 years of living without them. So every time I adjust my glasses, the world gets kind of... All right, moving on. Kenosha is going to blow up in violence that even last summer's will look like nothing. It will... You will wish we were back to last summer by the time they're done. It is what it is. Get out of town for a couple days. Houses, whole neighborhoods will probably be burned to the ground this time. It'll make the Chaz look like a legitimately peaceful sit-in where everybody went home every night on top of everything else. Considering that I'm talking about a place where at least a dozen murders, a half a dozen proven rapes, and over 100 armed robberies occurred, and I'm comparing that to what's going to happen in the next couple days, tells you a lot. On the subject of my prescience and the limitations thereof, just before summer hit, the temperatures had been getting up into the 90s consistently, but really wasn't quite summer yet. I was watching a live stream and Laurel talked about how that last summer was going to be the driest on record and that food supply was going to be affected. It occurred to me that the same dry conditions that she was talking about made for perfect fodder for setting the world on fire. So lo and behold, California caught fire again. Now, the governor of California wants to blame it on global warming. Yeah, okay. Sure. Just like global warming was the reason for the 2020 fire season. Oh, wait a minute. No, it wasn't. It was a proven member of Antifa throwing fireworks out the window in the middle of a hot, dry summer in Oregon, which is so overgrown. It's literally dangerous per se, but okay. Sure. Let's go with that. Well, my prescience actually did prove to be not quite as right as I had assumed, but a little bit. There was actually an arrest, and I got a link yesterday from Papa Carey. The individual who was arrested for setting the biggest of those fires, like 800,000 acres, I believe it was, before they finally got it declared actually out. Hold on to that thought. Has been adjudicated as unfit to stand trial. Oh. Funny thing about California law, it used to be that if you were declared unfit to stand trial, you were free. Because of Charles Manson. Oh, was it Charles Manson? Well, right about that same time anyway. California changed their law that if you are declared unfit to stand trial, you go into a psychiatric facility and you stay there until you are fit to stand trial, and then you stand trial for whatever it was. So you get a double whammy. You were looking at 10 years for assault deadly weapon. You're declared unfit to stand trial. Okay. So now you're going into a psych facility until they say you're ready to stand trial. And if that's 20 years from now, you got a 30-year sentence. Oh, that must really suck, huh? Like it or not, I was proven right. A violent political protester, and she does have a history of political protests, not necessarily violent, but political protest, set a forest on fire with the intention of destroying cities. She destroyed a backwater burg of a couple hundred families, as opposed to probably the city she was aiming her weapon at. But if you're one of those couple hundred families, that completely affects you, especially since that fire hit at something like 2 a.m. Does that sound familiar? Oh, right. It's exactly what happened to Paradise the year before that. I remember I was at Papa Carey's when that one happened. And Dad's saying, weather report is high winds for the next 3 days. I come down the first day. It's okay. Come down the second day. Boom. Paradise is gone. Oh, shit. Major lesson learned. Using fire as a major weapon. Now, I know that this sounds like a little bit of a rambly, but when I look at a pattern and define an intentional direction, I'm always proven right sooner or later. I know some people do not like me talking about Iran, and they're not wrong. But sooner or later, when we go back and start looking through the history, we're going to find out, yeah, there was something there. I'm crazy. That's okay. I'm right. I'm crazy, Mr. Not Stupid. Oh. All right. I am not ignoring you guys. Okay. All right. I've done Data Slovak and Get Home Bag and expounded once again on the difference between a Get Home Bag and a Bug Out Bag. No. I'm going to hit on one more detail. Bug out bag is to leave with the intention of not coming back or not for a very, very long time. Get home bag is just to get home for now so you can plan what you're going to do next. Maybe you already have a plan and good for you. Maybe your get home bag is in your car for that exact reason. Okay, good for you. As long as you keep your car fueled all the time. You really, really need to have one. And one of these days, I want to get totes in here because the two of us have something very interesting in common. We're both big bicycle guys. You may not know this about me, but I prefer to take my bike to work over my car. I only drive to work when I actually have to because after work today, I have something I got to go deal with. Get groceries, go to a doctor's appointment, whatever it is. Otherwise, I take my bicycle to work. It's cheaper. I can go against traffic. No, I can't go against traffic. I do it anyways because I know unless I do something really stupid, the cops aren't going to stop me. Believe it or not, that bicycle is a huge get-home option. You really, really should consider investing even in a cheap-ass $100 Walmart special bike. Right. And if it comes to that, steal a bike in the middle of the riot and get out of there as fast as you can, as far as you can. My bike is equipped with a electric motor on the front hub, so I can go a lot further than you can, and generally faster than you can. And far, far faster than you can run. All right, I'm going to go another 15-ish minutes, and then I think I'm going to wrap it up. Partly, guys, I got to start scaling back a little bit because there's not that much to cover, generally speaking. And partially because until I get professional, take my StreamYard to a professional level, I only have 10 hours per month, and that sucks. 9017 is coming, and I got a bad feeling that it's coming by the end of this year. Or at least it's going to start by the end of this year. I'm going to go there a little bit. I know 9/11 has historic significance in the Islamic world, specifically in the Islamist world, which is comparing a political Muslim to a religious Muslim is like comparing a white identitarian Christian to all other Christians, literally. You're comparing a racist subset of a larger group to the entire group. And I don't do it. I won't. To the Islamist world, 9/11 is a big, important deal. At least to them. I don't think it's going to happen on 9/11 because there's another day of the year when your opportunity for hunting is going to be 1,000% better, especially since you've got to depend on people to get into small, crowded spaces in large numbers on their own. Think about it, you'll realize what day of the year I'm talking about. Here's a hint, it's not Thanksgiving. And it won't be Christmas either. The kind of people that would be in a position to be targeted on Christmas or Thanksgiving are the really pretty sad people of the world. Sort of people who have no family. Everybody else will be with their family. Didn't matter how bad my life got. Except when I was in Salem. On Thanksgiving and Christmas, I had somebody I could go to and be with. Not a bar. I didn't have to go to a bar. I had somebody I could turn to. All right. 9017 is coming. It's coming a whole lot faster than you think. Carry something. If you cannot legally carry a firearm right now, get pepper spray. Get a belt and put a set of brass knuckles on it. It makes a wonderful, wonderful weapon. Believe it or not, brass knuckles are not very good at anything except point-blank self-defense, at which point your utility against somebody with a gun is pretty limited. But as a whip on a belt, it's a fucking awesome weapon. Hell, I respect whips. Right? Yes, I'm a little more comfortable with whips than most people are. I will let you hit me and then grab it and use it. But then, okay, so I've grabbed your whip. You hit me with your brass knuckle. There's nothing that is going to stop me from noticing how much you don't like me anymore. I will get the message really quick. Carry something. Because if you don't, the best you can do is do the Lubbock, Texas, not Lubbock, Texas, Lubbies, Texas Lubbies, and pray that he shoots a window out and you can jump out that. Hey, Gulch. Okay. I have never heard that before. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to kind of bash on this a tiny, tiny bit. There is one religion I hate. It is not Islam. It is not Judaism. It is not Buddhism. Hindus. Tao's. I'm a little bit Tao myself. Of course, Tao is more of a philosophy than a true religion. It's not pagans. People are always shocked to hear that the Christian tolerates pagans. Well, this Christian does. Hell, I even like some. Not Wicca, right? Not going to play 20 questions, but that's most of the list that I know of. Might be one I didn't mention. Just saying. So yeah, I anything you might read and hear about. It sounds like Muslim bashing. No, I'll bash on an Islamist in a heartbeat. They have taken their faith and perverted it into something. One of the reasons I don't want one world religion is because people like that, who will take that faith and pervert it to be their own little self-justification for evil, for being literally evil people, like Hitler did. He took spiritualism and turned it into an excuse to commit the world's worst act of genocide, recorded act of genocide. The reason I don't want therefore to be a one world religion is so that when people take that religion and pervert it to something really disgusting, there's someplace else to go. I've never heard that one before. And that's why I tolerate so many different faiths. Matter of fact, there's a pagan who follows the channel from time to time. And I know it, and I'm perfectly fine with it. There is a Muslim that I've invited, basically open door anytime. One of the reasons I pin the link to the StreamYard, in case somebody like that does show up, somebody I really, really want to talk to. Okay. Yeah, Alpine Gulch says it's a bootleg parody song compilation tape from the 1970s that Brits that served time in Saudi jails for it. I wish I could say I'm surprised. Whether you like it or not, that is the law in Saudi Arabia. You don't like it, don't go to Saudi Arabia. Simple concept. I don't know how to make that any simpler. I mean, it's not like okay, so yes, in Saudi jail. So it's not like with Iran, which issued a death sentence against people, in most cases, on a different continent for saying something they didn't like. May not be nice, but you know what? You're not in Saudi Arabia. You're in Britain. You're under British law. If your own government won't back you up, well, for doing something that is legal in Britain, at least at that point. Legal at that point. Few prayers for Australia right now, in particular. The Aussie, You know, my grandmother, Mama Carrie's mom, had a saying: if you don't like Canadians, that's okay. You're wrong. If Canadians don't like you, that's okay. You're wrong. There are certain things of the universe by nationality that are just simply true. It's the cultural thing. And the cultural thing of Australia is you get with the program. Hey, Squatch. I didn't realize you'd left. In Australia, you get with the program. That's it. The only people who were allowed to breed in Australia were the ones that could get with the program. Well, Australians are now protesting, and violently in some cases. There's an actual video footage of an Aussie cop being trampled. He was run over by a crowd of people, and I don't know that he survived. I'm not convinced. With that many people running through, I'm not convinced he made it. Or if he did, he's still in the hospital. And that was over a month ago. When Australians are so pissed that they're rising up, that tells you something's really wrong. It tells you that you need to go back and rethink everything you've been doing, because you fucked up bad. And it really is pretty much that simple now. It was a specific protest, but it was related to the subject you're not supposed to talk about, involving coughing and whooping. It's another COVID lockdown, and it's blown up in their face this badly. Coming from Australians, that tells you everything about how bad that has really gotten. Right. Guys, I'm going to wrap it up here because, like I said, I got to kind of control my time. Build your bug out bag. If you're in any one of the cities that had fiery but mostly peaceful protests last summer, get out of town for a couple days. Especially the two that are going through the court system right now. 9017 is coming. I'm pretty sure you'll all be saying, yeah, Carrie was right by the end of January. Sorry. And other than that, keep calm and manage to carry on.